So I just want to chat about our last couple of days, man.
Mhm.
You've and your beautiful wife just shown a amount of love and hospitality I've never experienced before.
Mhm.
That is, I would say, Four Seasons level,
Mhm.
Ritz Carlton level, and just during these moments that you and I have been able to communicate and speak. Um, we shared some ideas, some thoughts, not only about our families and our lives, but about business and ideas. And today we were even graced with talking with one of your, I think, top mentors. Um, Pastor Tommy just texted me. That was weird. He never texts me. That's unique.
Mhm.
Just about just sharing your mentorship in life as a son with Dr. Dean Boyd
Mhm.
of ORU, man. I want to just kind of dive in just a little bit from a man's perspective
Mhm.
of what that looks like or what that means, and kind of what your experience was, something you recognize, something you learned, something you maybe walked into that was new or unfamiliar for you. Like, what was something that's kind of stuck out over the last 48 hours?
Um, First of all, thank you for the thoughtful and generous words that you gave our family. One of the things that me and my wife we really focus on is operating in her gift.
Mm-hmm.
Her gift happens to be hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times,
Easy.
I don't know necessarily what that means. Like,
Yeah.
are we being hospitable in a way that we're opening ourselves up to people, or are we doing the best to make people feel comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment, I feel like God says yes,
Yeah.
and we're supposed to do all those things.
Yeah.
So I know that hers hospitality, and as her husband, is my job to support
Yeah.
that. What that means, what
Mm-hmm.
that means, me being a servant, having a servant's heart, being able to serve her or
Yeah.
serve our guests. And I never want anybody to feel like, hey, I'm not at peace
Mm-hmm.
when at this home. I want the interaction to be peaceful when they walk in
Mm-hmm.
and peaceful when they leave.
Mm-hmm.
So that starts with us.
Well, where did you get that?
Mhm.
Because that's a mindset.
Mhm.
For you, either it's fake
Mhm.
and like, man, you putting on a real good show,
Mhm.
or it's in the blood somewhere. It's in the DNA.
Mhm.
Who taught you that? Where did you learn how to position yourself to serve people at a really high level with
Mhm.
what you've been given?
I think one place I learned it is my interactions with Jamia, my wife.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I have the capacity to fake how I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to that,
Mm-hmm.
because even she'll tell you, when I feel a certain type of way, I just don't want to be
Yeah.
around people. I'll keep to myself, be quiet, be reserved, so
Mm-hmm.
on and so forth. But I won't necessarily try to fake it.
Yeah.
But I think that it comes with a understanding that whatever her gift is, it is my job as her husband
Mm-hmm.
to help her operate in that gift, because the peaceful mindset starts in the home. And that's where I learned. The next place where I learned it was Pastor Clarence Boyd, who's affectionately called Dean Boyd.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that he's taught me when it comes to being married, when it comes to being a man, when it comes to being a father, is the first lesson you must operate in as a husband is sacrifice.
Mm,
Sacrifice is the lesson that you operate in every day,
that's good.
because whereas men see it as compromise,
Mm-hmm.
you have to see it as sacrifice, because you have to give of yourself to the family.
Mm-hmm.
Am I expecting my wife to give unto me? No. But I know that if she doesn't, God is going to check her on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm recovering and I'm sacrificing for her, but she's not considering me, it comes down to, God, that's a conversation that you need to have with her. Because if I'm operating in your word, in your will, in your way, and being a covering spiritually, and emotionally, and whatever she needs,
Mm-hmm.
now is a problem that he has to deal with when
Mhm.
it comes to her.
Gotcha. I love that. We'll take a slight pause here. I'm gonna have you put your hands in your lap, kind of like what I'm doing now, just so we don't shake the table because I don't want any other cameras to shake. Thank you for that. Pause back in. That's a unique perspective of one serving your wife who is trying to serve her gift to people. I think that's really ultimate leadership to me. When people think of leadership, you think of I'm being the guy in charge or the person in charge and I'm doing the thing, when it's really a sense of helping others become the best of who they are doing their thing.
Right.
I would often say that a leader is a professional servant, often disguised as the person who's been put in the spot. And it's really easy to find if somebody is truly a servant by if they want the light on them, if they want to be known, if they want all the credit, but somebody who propels others without even looking for any credit, who don't even need to be known. And that's what I've kind of seen easily through your wife and what you guys have just accommodated at your home. I think I asked you like a week and a half ago, like, hey, bro, I think we're coming to Tulsa. Last minute, I didn't even have it all together, but I watched you serve and be hospitable just within the communication. Now that I'm really thinking about it, it started there. It's like, hey, you were trying to prepare a place for us when we came. That's in the text too, if you need to know. That's the Lord will provide a place. He is doing that. And so, but you did that same thing. You really wanted to be intentional about that. And that spilled over from now, not only how you serve your wife, but how you served us, which I keep telling my wife, I think this is one of the best experiences that we've had with staying with people who we barely got to be around or know holistically. This is our second interaction. You guys came to Nashville and now we're in your home with our kids, full family, which is a whole zoo by itself. But you guys have just handled it with the level of grace, and you guys want to stay over one more. Like, people don't do that. People just don't do that. People often dream of doing that. People often dream, man, I wish I can host people. I wish I can do this. I wish I can do that. And then they never do it. Or they're not blessed to do it because maybe their heart maybe isn't in the right place anyway. But I think you guys had a vision to do this and you're doing it. And we're getting to benefit off of that. And so I'm grateful for that, man. And really thankful. I keep looking at my wife. I'm like, man, I don't even want to leave. Like, what we doing? Like, hey, can we stay till Saturday? Like, Saturday. So I love that, man. We were talking the other night, even until today, just about our giftings and vision and calling and what's next. What's something that there's something that you've taken away, or something that you really, or that really stuck out to you the most about our conversations?
What really stuck out to me the most when it comes to our giftings and how we are made to gift to people. I think that when you think about it, I felt that learning about your gifting and your gifting making room for you and introducing you, putting you in rooms that you believe that you have, you don't know how you got in there.
Yeah.
I think that one thing I noticed about you was in that conversation was the level of humility you had in your gift. And that is something that really struck a chord with me, because if I had the gift that you had, I would be touting it to the world and trying to put myself out there. But
no, you won't. You too humble, man. I learned that from you. What are you talking about?
But God is allowing you to make the Bible true and saying that your gift will make room for you.
Sheesh.
So learning in that conversation, not only what your vision was, how your gift played into the vision, and how your vision was going to provide avenues for other people. You don't necessarily hear that from a lot of entrepreneurs. You hear from a lot of entrepreneurs, hey, like, I'm expecting to make this in year one. I'm expecting to have this profit margin coming back to me. I'm expecting this, and that. All I need is this type of seed. Well, having that conversation, you're learning. I learn from you. Hey, I'm expecting this to do this so that this can in turn provide avenues for people to tell their stories.
Yeah.
And that is, in all actuality, a gift that is so undervalued that a person can take their gift and do so many things with it. And that's why I believe in my heart of hearts is a definition of a gift, because even though it's given to you, you give it to others.
Yeah.
So,
gift that keeps on giving.
Amen.
Bro, thanks for saying that. That's actually my heart behind being multi-gifted and multi-talented is you can go two routes. Make it work for you, or you can make it and help it work for other people. And one is sexier and more fulfilling, self-fulfilling. The other one is patient, slow, and you hope that a life is going to change.
Right.
And man, thanks for saying that, because I don't know why I started doing it like that. I think there was a time in my life where I realized that God was blessing me so much, but I felt like I wasn't doing anything. It almost felt effortless. And I call myself often saying, how the heck did I get here? And I don't have a degree. I don't have no money in the bank. I don't have a dad. I started counting all of the things that would normally make me not accessible to this type of access or notoriety or any type of accolades. And then I started to really count. Okay, let me stop counting reasons why I shouldn't be here, and let me count why I'm here. You know, what has set me apart to where I feel like I'm not working as hard enough. Like I feel like I should know more people, but I'm like today. Like we talked about this, but being in a room with Dr. Clarence Boyd, it happens like that. Like I'm in the room with the guy. Right. That everyone else maybe looks up to or see as valuable. And I'm always catching myself like, okay, God, if I got here, what am I here for? Because I'm not qualified to be here, you know.
And the crazy thing about that, and even in the Bible, if you look at there are two examples of people not necessarily feeling qualified. The first one was Moses. Yeah. Because like God gave him a simple directive. Yeah. Rescue my people from Egypt. Yeah. The fact of the matter is he gave his reasons why he wasn't qualified, but God gave him the reason why he was qualified. Jeez. Because I am with you.
Yeah. We can pause right there for a second. Wait a second. I'm getting emotional.
Look, and then then focus on Paul. Yeah. Paul or Saul at first. Saul was a walking contradiction to what you were looking for in an apostle. He murdered Jews. He took pride in persecuting Jews. Yeah. Then he struck blind. He's taken care of by just a passerby. Yeah. And now you look at Paul, and he's written almost 2/3 of the New Testament. Wow. So one of the things that you were saying in what you were talking about not being qualified, is the reason why you are the most qualified to do it. Wow. Because testimony is just a testament to bring somebody else closer to God. Yeah. Yeah. So like when you look at how things come about, and when you look at how things come up, people will say like, I can't do this. Yeah. I can't do that. I shouldn't do this. I
feel like
shouldn't
an imposter all the time, man.
And that is in and of itself the reason why you should do it. Because when you look at it and you see, okay, how did I get here? Yeah. You know how you got here. It wasn't by your own strength. Yeah. It was by his vision.
Yeah.
So you are a walking testimony to not only his goodness and his grace, but his
Sheesh.
mercy and his favor.
Mm.
So I want to speak that to you. It's like you deserve to be here.
Mm. Mm.
Period. You deserve to be here. And anytime that you feel like that you don't deserve to be here, consult God.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that we fail to understand about God is he affirms those who loves.
Mm. That's good.
He affirms those.
I get a lot of affirming, like biblically, but also through my wife, which is probably 90% of my affirming.
Right.
She's endless through my kids, but also being able to be a part of some uniquely amazing things where people recognize you. But it kind of didn't mean anything to me. I'm like, yeah. But there's the next thing. We got to fix it, And I have been able to slow down and recognize, like, oh, that's another level of kindness from God.
It's unbelievable how kind God can be.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a conversation that we had, I think yesterday it was yesterday. It was yesterday. No, it was the day before yesterday. So it reminds me of the conversation how kind God can be, because in a situation in which you feel like you are carrying the burdens of the world, or you're carrying the world on your shoulders, God is kind enough to say, you know what, you're carrying too much right now. Let me lift this burden off of you and let you carry your break and find me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to hold this burden for you, but in that rest, I'm going to give this burden back to you so that you can know when you need to call upon me again. And sometimes God puts people in your life to help you
He does.
affirm and help you carry in the moment.
Yeah.
So like it's unfailing how kind God can be.
Man, and I'm teaching my wife this, but at the same time, I'm teaching her. God is always teaching me. Even just, every year we try to take this marriage retreat, and I want to make sure that it's super intentional, impactful, life-giving. My wife just wants to have fun, party,
Right.
which is fine. It needs to be a good level, even level, both of it.
Right.
And this year, I know we need to be even more intentional, just because of where we're going, what we're attempting to build, who God is sending to us, and what He's allowing us to do. I feel needs a little bit more attention. And this has been a long 2 weeks of just us bonding, and what the heck is this tech company all about? And then, what is our kids made to do? And asking some really deep questions about each other. And I felt that we got a lot of clarity before we came here. And really the last 3 days is like the cherry on top. And it's like, oh, this is what it equals up to. You guys have created a space for my family and I to be safe, to feel comfortable, to enjoy ourselves, to relax, to reminisce, to laugh, like do all the things you want to do when you're on vacation.
Right.
And we didn't have to go far to look for that. And to share with you guys some in-depth things that we're going through, facing, like you can't trust everybody with that information. And I keep telling my wife I'm full. Like not off the cooking. The cooking game is strong. My God, y'all. At the house, 505, my God, I can tell you the city. It's just, I'm full, man, spiritually, mentally, and you and Jamia is just a perfect combination of fire and ice, and left and right, up and down, like that keeps people centered and together. There's something unique there, because I feel safe, but my wife feels even safer, and she don't care about nobody. Like she won't cuss you out to your face, but she'll cuss you out to me, or say, hey, she's really overprotective of that. And I'm just seeing her just kind of just really let loose and be welcomed. you know, and I want to grace you and honor you guys for doing an incredible job at that. And I probably won't stop doing that all year, because you need to continue to do that when you feel called to do it. And yeah, man, when it comes to you've been mentored, it seems that you've been well groomed and mentored. When you think of other men who you know need mentorship or maybe facing certain problems or situations, what do you feel like you're called to do with what God has graced and gifted you for, and what He has passed down to you from people like Dr. Clarence Boyd?
The objective of a mentor is to be poured into and then pour to someone else. I feel like that with my mentor, Pastor Clarence Boyd, it feels like he continually mentors me. As I said before, sometimes it feels like I know everything I need to know, and then he drops something else. And I'm like, I didn't even know that. I didn't like that. That was something that eluded me. And I still have a lot to learn. But I think that even in education, I find pieces of him coming out sometimes in how I address certain situations. And I never think, what would he do? I think biblically, what should I do? Or what would Jesus do in this situation? And I'm learning this year. And it's something called leading with love, leading with compassion, leading with patience. Because most of the men, like the definition of in words of a man, if you ask the person on the street, oh, man's supposed to be tough, and man's supposed to be a provider, man's supposed to be this, he's supposed to be that. You've identified what you think a man is. You define what a man is, but what is a man supposed to be? And I'm learning that a man is supposed to be whatever his surroundings need him to be.
Sheesh.
So
speak to that.
So what that means is if the whole world is crashing down around me and everybody's panicking, a man has to be that calm inside that storm. When people feel unsafe, a man has to make everybody feel safe.
That's facts.
When people feel like I can't trust anybody around me, a man is supposed to be that trustworthy person in a sea of doubt. So I'm learning that in an area of where people are not leading with love, leading with compassion, leading with patience, I have to be able to reverse whatever I will say, like, feeling there is in that environment. So that people can feel safe around me. So that's something now I'm learning with just not only being married, but also being a leader, is that I have to be a representative of what people need me to be.
I love that, man. That kind of goes into the ability to be adaptable. I used to feel like an imposter a little bit, but even my type or Enneagram type, I look at a room and I balance it. Does it need more of this or does it need less of this? And then also, like, hey, you know, where are all the men at for us? Okay, let me put a little more bass in my voice real quick, just so we know what frequency is in the room. You know, one thing I admire about you is you're a big guy. Like, if I see you from afar, I'm like, okay, let me go ask him. Because he paying attention to something, or he may be able to point me to the right direction. But also, what you carry is a spirit and a power of meekness. Like, I can tell you could probably put me in a chokehold for asking this question, but you just gonna be kind enough to just, because you already told me 3 times. Let me just, you know. You have the spirit of meekness. I think that's wrapped around the power that you have,
Mhm.
and it's. I think it's at the extreme level of kindness.
Mhm.
So I watch the way you talk to Jamia. I watch the way you talk to my kids,
Mhm.
especially my daughter. I pay attention to that a lot, and you're genuine about it.
Mhm.
And how can most men, when you kind of stating what you said earlier about being that balance, being adaptable, being the man in the room, but still being the safest place
Mhm.
in the room? Because power is just like power in your walls or in the ceiling. Like it's safe enough to plug something into,
Mhm.
but you don't want to touch it directly.
Right.
It's that type of power I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And so how do you balance or have the conversion or have the maybe the wisdom or skill to say, I know what I'm made of, or I know what I'm supposed to do, but in this moment there's women in the room, there's children in the room. How to still be a big bear when you need to be a big bear
Right.
without your teeth and fangs hanging out?
So,
Because a lot of men have a problem with that.
no, and one of the things that, because wisdom comes with experience.
Yes, sir.
Wisdom comes with experience in a situation.
Yeah.
Um, in my younger days, I was very like robust. I can be loud, but the more and more I saw people react to it,
Mm-hmm.
the more and more I had to realize that, hey, I need to tone it down to a level and be able to raise it in
Yeah.
a situation if I need to. How I talk to Jamia is how I talk to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
You just gave me some wisdom right there. Because I struggle with, I want you to remember where you're at right now.
Mm.
Sometimes I struggle with using my tone
Mm.
at almost, not at any time, but if I get frustrated
Mm.
or like my tone changes, what
Mm.
you're saying is you keep your tone and your volume, your loudness at bay, so
Mm.
you know the difference when I'm serious or not.
Right.
Because sometimes if you just whatever, you can't take me seriously. Maybe you really not hearing me, or I'm confusing you.
Right.
But if you got loud, I would know immediately
Mm.
this is the 911, or
Right.
it's something we need to pay attention to.
Right. Right.
That's unique.
And that's one of the things, like that's me, part of me being self-aware
Mhm.
is in the moment where I need to be some type of person,
Mhm.
I can adjust my tone because my tone is already at its lowest form.
Yeah.
I've always heard this, and I've kind of utilized this in how I address people.
Mhm.
The first thing you get from me is respect.
Mhm.
Period. No matter who you are, and the reason why is because even though I don't know you,
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand that you are still a person.
Yeah.
I'm a representative of the kingdom.
Yeah.
How I treat you might be olive branch back to God.
Yeah.
So when I'm asking certain, and I've done this before, when I ask certain students to do something, hey, I need you to do this because
Mhm.
this and that. My tone stays even, it stays low.
Mhm.
I am putting respect there. Um, Part of my approach to meekness is being unassuming,
Mhm.
because there have been times in job interviews where a person looks at my size and
Mhm.
says, I don't think you could do this job because he looks
Yep. Yep.
like he
Yep.
doesn't know how to do this,
Yeah.
or he looks like he would be an issue, or he looks like
Mhm.
he would be difficult.
Yeah.
And those assumptions, although they do hurt, they're not a representation of who I am.
Yeah.
So my objective every time I step out of this house is to be the best representative of who I am, but not only that, who I am in God,
Mm.
and who I am to my wife. Because when I step outside of this household,
Yeah.
I have to remember I don't represent myself anymore.
Mhm.
I represent my wife.
Mhm.
So even if I'm out and a person says, "Oh, I saw Jahan doing this, and
Right.
that,"
Right.
like, Jamia, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
She can say, "Oh, well,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
he's the type of person that he won't raise his voice,
Yeah.
or he won't do X, Y, and Z
Yeah.
unless X, Y, and Z has happened."
Yeah. A lot of guys lead with the masculinity
Mm.
uh at the forefront, meaning I need to look big, feel big,
Mhm.
talk big, have big money,
Mhm.
all these things that some women find attractive.
Mhm.
Learning to lead with meekness and kindness, with still the strength, still with the power, still with the authority, I think is where a lot of young men, even older men men who are trying to be valuable but don't know what part is valuable,
Mhm.
is always having a problem or confusion in.
Mhm.
And so, thanks for highlighting like how to be a man of stature,
Mhm.
whether you're big, because we're 6 feet and above.
Right.
Yeah, we're some pretty big dudes.
Yeah.
But we know that we know what we carry. We know what we believe, who we believe. We know what we have the power and strength to do
Mhm.
physically, emotionally, and even spiritually. I think that comes with a high level of responsibility.
Right.
And what I'm starting to hear from you is even men who want to be the 1% men or the valuable men,
Mhm.
or men who want to be extra masculine, maybe too masculine in
Mhm.
some ways, meaning the masculinity is the forefront. Yeah, like I need to look big, even though
Mhm.
I'm maybe a little boy inside.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
you were saying balance.
Mhm.
Like, what would you say to men who may be struggling with, like, you're really a bear inside. You
Mhm.
really don't want to be like that,
Mhm.
but maybe you had to be like this because of maybe who you grew up around, or
Mhm.
maybe you got picked on, or maybe your wife or your girl don't think you man enough or
Mhm.
gangster enough.
Mhm.
You know, I've seen it and I've heard that when I was growing up.
Mhm.
I'm like, man, am I supposed to be a little more like this guy? Like,
Mhm.
I want to be like him. Like, wait a second, he doesn't have a girl or a wife. You know, what would you say to that guy who maybe a little bit imbalanced with that?
So the first thing that you would want that guy to understand is your identity. Like, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Because your identity is made up of your culture, it's made up of your background, it's made up of how you grew up,
Yeah,
where you grew up, who you grew up around, like who was your role model. It's also made up of who God has called you to be.
there it is.
A lot of times we get caught up in taking somebody else's identity on.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever's identity we take on has the power over us
Yeah,
because we're trying to adjust ourselves to
yeah,
that person who carries our identity.
yeah.
So identifying your identity, but also the second thing is changing your surroundings. Because
Mm-hmm.
if your identity, if you're forced to change who you are,
Mm-hmm.
identity, you might need to change your surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
Because is your surroundings forcing you to
Mm-hmm.
be misidentify yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or are your surroundings calcifying you into being somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you think about this topic, if you
Yep.
think about a science experiment, you putting an egg in alcohol versus an egg in uh like like syrup,
Mm-hmm.
like Karo syrup. I did this experiment when I was in, I think, sixth or seventh grade. I put a chicken bone
Mm-hmm.
in alcohol. I put a chicken bone in syrup. I put an egg in alcohol. I put an egg in syrup. What I realized is that in the alcohol, it actually changed the bone from being hard to being like rubbery.
Mm.
But in the syrup, it actually calcified the bone.
Mm.
The egg, it turned the shell from a hard, brittle shell to more of a soft, like malleable.
Mm-hmm.
Like it one pinching it one time will cause it to explode,
Yeah.
whereas the syrup caused it to harden.
Mm.
The reason why I stated this is because in the surroundings that we're in, we can either be malleable or we can either calcify. Being malleable means that you're at the right person, they can change you into
Yeah.
whatever they want you to be.
Yeah.
Now, that might seem good in the process, but beware of who you put yourself around and
Mm-hmm.
beware of who you being malleable with.
Yeah.
Because if you're malleable with the wrong person, they can change you into whoever you want you to be, and they can have that voice
Mm-hmm.
in which they'll tell you anything that they need you to do
Mm-hmm.
or misidentify you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like putting an egg in syrup, if you're hard around hard people, how can you know like how to grow.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to grow.
Yeah.
It's going to be impossible to break out of your shell because it's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Your surroundings have become too hard for you to actually escape.
Yeah.
So if you can't change the people around you,
Mm-hmm.
change the people around you.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say about that is finding the right source. You have to find the right source in order for you to actually grow
Mm-hmm.
and to find your identity.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because we mischaracterize actually our resource and the source.
Mm-hmm.
We think a resource can be a source.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about, if I ask you
That's
to name
good.
a source,
Yeah.
people will say electricity, people will say gas, people say oil, people say fire, people say all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those can be characterized as sources, but the resources are those that whose life is finite.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, or at the end of time, those sources are going to run out. It's going to run out because it's on a limited amount of that.
Yeah.
But when I plug into something that has an infinite amount,
Yeah.
that's a source.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to misuse a source.
Yeah.
It's hard to misuse it. It only has one job, to power whatever's plugged up into. However, a resource can be misused.
Mm-hmm.
It can be misidentified. It can be used incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
So as a man, when you find the right source that you can connect to,
Mm-hmm.
and it can help you become better than what you hope, it's easy to identify who you are.
Yeah.
So your identity, your surroundings, and who you plug into are three common things that a man could do to help identify themselves and get themselves on the right path so that they don't have to be misidentified as what a man should look like, and they can identify what type of man they want to be.
Come on. That's what the manual's all about.
Mm.
I love that. And what I love about really being on the search, I think it starts with what you said, is start to ask the question, who am I? What type of man do I want to be? And when you start to ask questions like that, your brain goes, well, let's go looking, or who sets a bar, what stands out. And usually you can find guys. I have this 18-year-old guy from 18-year-old kid, he's still a kid, just turned 18, from Odessa, Texas. And he's like, man, I've never met anybody like you. Nobody's like you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, how do you know the difference? And he just gives me this list. I'm like, oh, that's identifiable. I think the reason why the Bible says iron sharpens iron is because when you find something that is strong and tough, we were talking about this, I think yesterday, the makings of a sword, what it has to go through to turn into what it is. But it's not just that, it's what it can be used for. It's got to go through this entire process, not to be used to like make more fire, but to be used for something else that's useful. I've learned that through being around guys like you and men I look up to. I can just tell there's something different. What would you give to somebody to help them identify that, hey, this person, or maybe this book, or maybe this church is a good direction for you to go into?
So there's a list of things that each man wants to get better at, because you learn from looking at other men.
Yeah.
You learn from being around other men. Like, you might see a man and say, I like the way he talked to his wife.
Yeah. I did that my entire life. Yeah.
Like how does he, I need to know how he talks to his wife. And you'll strike up a conversation with that man. Hey, I like the way you talk to her. How did you go about doing that? And that could spark a connection.
Bro. Yeah.
And then
that's facts.
And then you'll run into somebody that says like, hey, man, like I got my finances in order. I have a little bit extra money every month. Like, how do you do that? Oh, this is what I did. Those are pretty peak opportunities to be mentored, because what we think mentorship is identifying with one man
Yeah.
and him building us like him. Mentorship is finding that gap in which you see in
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
as a weakness, you see in somebody else as a strength.
Yeah.
So I could
That's
be
good.
mentored by 20 different men,
Yeah.
but I can also mentor a young man on something that he sees in me,
Yeah.
like my curiosity, my inquisitiveness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how are you so inquisitive? Like, how are you answering these questions?
Yeah.
And it can open the doors
That's
to a
facts.
lifelong conversation
Yeah.
because the question that you started off with
Mhm.
was not necessarily who am I, but the question that you start off with is who has God called me to be?
You just hit the nail on the head, because me growing up without a father,
Mhm.
I had 1,000 questions.
Mhm.
My son growing up with a father, he has questions, but it's not something that's missing. He's just in discovery mode.
Correct.
It's not like I'm longing for something. Oh, man, I didn't know this. Like, he gets because he's directly connected to the resource.
Mhm.
Or
Right.
let's say even to our Father. And that's why I think you made it plain and simple. It's like, this reason why we need to be in our word and be with men who are close to God, because God is the source, and we get all of our answers through him. And he makes it even easier by creating other men to get the message to you even
Right.
quicker too, just in case you couldn't hear or get it from him. And so I'm seeing that difference in why men need mentorship to fill in the gaps, is what you said, that really stuck up to me, because that's what I had. I told my wife I paid close attention to men who were married, especially TV dads,
Mhm.
Uncle Phil,
Mhm.
Carl Winslow,
Right.
Danny Tanner, like all these guys on TV. But then when I seen like the Tommy Todds and my coach Lockard, and I mean, I can go Wayman Tisdale. I watched specific things of how they either treated the business, their wife, their kids. Wayman was a big bear. I mean, you remind me a lot of them, where literally his kids can walk in no matter how important the recording was. He could be on the phone with Brandy or Rodney, whoever, and his kids walk in, and it's like, it's only them. That reminds me a lot of it. So I think men can really engage into finding more of who they want to become by finding those things that they feel that they're maybe missing or wish they had. Listen to your mom. Listen to your friends. Like, it may sound like it's getting on their nerves. Like, hey, do I not listen? Am I hard-headed? Am I hanging out with the wrong people? Find guys who are hanging out with the right people.
Right.
Or maybe with nobody, and they're better off by themselves a little bit in the time of season. And you guys are like, man, how are you good with just you?
Right.
How are you secure with just you? Well,
Right.
I spend time with, you start to find these things out. So that's what I think I heard you say, man. Thanks for sharing that.
And the key to all that is something that men are starting to see, and some men are afraid of, and that's vulnerability. I think that we as men are afraid to share, like, if we need help from other men.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because we think that, oh, I don't need to ask him about this, because if I ask him about this, I seem weak.
Yeah. There it is.
The principle of vulnerability is not seeming weak. The principle of vulnerability is strength.
Yeah.
Because it takes strength to let your guard down and trust somebody enough to help guide you to be better.
Yeah.
So I think that you hit a nail on the head of asking people and connecting with people, but also it's that first step of, this person has something that I need in my life.
Yeah.
I need to ask them in order for me to get what I need.
Now you back in the text, Doc. I think our Father says, ask, seek, knock, and the door will open. And for all the men who are confused about, because it really starts right there. And like, they don't want to look weak. They don't want to feel bad, like they didn't know something, because you feel like you're supposed to know.
Right.
And most of us don't know.
No.
And but I think God made it that way so that we can always be on a journey of asking and seeking.
Right.
That's why we didn't come equipped like Neo on the Matrix.
Right.
Like we didn't nothing. Everything wasn't downloaded. We have to go and search these things, and that's really good for every man needs to know. Like, hey, you didn't come equipped for everything, but that's one of the reasons why I started the manual. It's like we're writing the script for other men based on our stories and our experiences, and say, hey, I went down that road, or hey, I did this, or hey, I thought this. That's not good. This points to the truth. And I think just biblically stating, like just starting with the first one is ask a man, get over yourself. You put all your pride and ego down and ask like, man, how do I get off drugs? How do I stop looking at pornography? How do I build turn my girlfriend into a wife? You know, how to ask those questions and listen to what Jahan is saying right now about searching for your identity through questions and being vulnerable and being okay with stepping out on faith and finding men who could become a mentor and maybe a gap filler in what you're trying to find in your life. Right. And you don't have to go to alcohol. You don't have to go to these groups of friends you actually don't even like hanging around with. They're just the closest thing, your environment, your culture, but all of that can change. And even if you can't change them, it can all change by your decision. So,
correct.
Man, thank you for sharing that, bro. This has been a Power Pack 45 minutes.
Wow.
This is only my second interaction with you, man, just holistically. And I feel like I've known you for at least 5-10 years, man.
Same. Likewise.
Bro,
likewise.
It's crazy. I'm excited to establish our friendship and brotherhood and relationship, but also on the business side, this is a smart Negro. This Joker know what he's talking about. I'm excited to really watch him propel into his giftings, his calling, his convictions, and then his skills, what lights him up. I believe you're going to add a tremendous value to what we're building. You helped me cry. I cried on your shoulder about an ed tech company. Like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. You just see numbers, you see opportunity, you see potential in areas and cracks that most people wouldn't see. And I think you can help a lot of people solve problems by the way God allows you to calculate the numbers and understand the systems, man. So I'm excited for that future. And yeah, man, the way you honor your wife, the way you talk to her, the way you talk about her. Y'all seen at the beginning of this whole thing, he honored his wife. That's the first thing he did. Like, I couldn't get the man to stop talking about his wife. Sheesh. Like,
hey, if I don't talk about my wife, somebody is going to talk about it. I'm going to be upset. So,
that's the biggest thing, man.
I got to, and thank you for your kind words, bro. It's one thing to hear it from others is another thing to hear from you who is not only doing the work, but follow his vision and follow his dream. So those are heavy words from me, and I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man. Guys, this is the manual. I'm pretty sure this is going to spark Jay's podcast on whatever the Lord is leading him to talk about.
Which is nothing. Which is nothing.
Well, I'll always bring you back here and you'll have a seat at the table, even if it's at your table, man.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. You guys stay tuned with the Manual Podcast because this is the show where you decide what type of man you want to become.